My guest today is Brent Webb. He calls himself the mastermind. Brent's an expert on how the mind works and how to use your mind to achieve happiness, success, and personal transformation. For the past 25 years, he's toured the world, giving live performances and seminars, teaching millions how to unlock their mind power for personal growth. He's worked with stars like Joan Rivers, Dolly Parton, Kenny Rogers. He's appeared twice at the White House. On his website, there's a testimonial from former President Bill Clinton and countless other celebrities. He's also used his skills on himself on how the mind works to treat himself of anxiety, to beat cancer, and to create a multi-million-dollar business. He continues to give seminars and training programs at resorts, on cruise ships, at colleges, Fortune 500 corporations like Google and the Ford Motor Company. He's been featured as a mind expert on numerous television network shows, including History, BBC America, and TLC. Welcome to my show, Brent.
Hey, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So real quick, give me your backstory. How'd you get here?
Well, I started out as a little kid magician. I was born in Ohio as an only child, and I always wanted to be, I always loved when I was a kid what David Copperfield was, the big guy, right? So here's a good looking guy, thin guy, wind in his hair, and here's me as a little chubby kid. But that's was the dream. But about 10 years old, I went to the library. Every weekend I would take out magic books. And one week, somebody had mistakenly put The Magic of Believing on the shelf. And I took it home thinking it was a book about magic, and it was all about the power of the mind and belief. So even at 10, I kind of realized, wow, there's a lot more here than we realize, Went to college, hated it. Met some celebrities when I was, 18, 19, went on the road and really started as an opening act and started doing Vegas and those sort of things, but only entertainment. I mean, I was an entertainer. That was the connection. There really wasn't anything past that. It was very superficial, but I did that for years. And then one thing
To give listeners an idea what he means by entertainment, if you watch his videos, it's really cool. He picks people up from the audience. He's one of those like, what change do I have in my pocket? And who is the name of my first love? What school did I go to? So it's interesting because he's got this neuro-linguistic programming, like subconscious way. I think it's a magic trick. But on top of that, as he's telling the story, he's got the other side of the coin, like the science behind it, like to make you actually to help you change your life, to move you towards happiness, right?
Yeah, because there's something to, if you have a motivational speaker or a trainer and they're working with you and they're for a company or something, it's almost like the audience feels like at a certain point I'm being preached to and they start to tune it out. But when you have an entertainer who is doing both, the message is sometimes hidden and not so direct in your face, but it allows a lot more people to get the information than they would normally. So that's really, in my 20s, I started making the move from just being an entertainer, which, as a mentalist, like you're saying, that's what I do, mind reading, that sort of thing. But I've always do a little bit of both. In other words, there's some real things going on. There's some magic going on. I let my audience decide which is which. Now, in the seminars and the trainings, there's no show. It's just all about, these are the tools you need to change your life. So the last 15 years, that's my focus. It's
one of the important things, and we're on the same page with this, is you're like me, you're trying to make the world a better place. And I think it's do the thing you want to do. How can someone use one question I get asked a lot, Brent, is, that sounds great, Daniel. I don't know what I want to do. How could they what's a mind trick? Like, how do you help people use their mind to really be honest and know this is my purpose?
Well, everybody has a passion or a purpose that they should be doing. And if you're not doing it or you don't know what it is, it means it's time to do a little investigating. The easiest way to do it is to get in touch with yourself, which it has to be through some form of meditation, contemplation, somewhere where you're sitting alone with yourself. Because nowadays we have a 7 second attention span. It was 7 minutes in the late 80s. It's 7 seconds. Everything on your phone is super fast colors and you're scrolling. They've got to get your attention. And everyone is afraid to sit alone because right away the voice in your head starts and, everything takes over. So it's going to require some. It took a lot of repetition of bad things, like me eating Doritos my whole life means I have to, I'm on a diet losing weight, right? But the repetition that we've done our whole lives, a little repetition in the right direction can get you out of this. So a little bit of meditation, a little bit of connecting with yourself, finding out the answers are really inside. We all think that the outer world is the primary reality because the houses, the cars, the other people are out there, but we pay very little attention to inside. It's like you're born with the most sophisticated supercomputer ever invented, right? We all have one, but they never tell us how to use it. You get a manual when you buy a cell phone, a toaster, a micro, anything. There's a huge manual that tells you how to operate it, right? You get
Yeah.
this thing, you're completely on your own. Nobody ever tells you how to focus. They tell you you need to focus, but nobody ever says what focus is or how to do it. So it's really kind of going back and figuring out, you know what? I built this fake version of myself all during my childhood. It's now controlling my life. It's getting in there and figuring out what is the old rusty programming in your head saying. And once you start figuring that out, it loses its power because it was.
So, for example, I'm meditating, I'm trying to think of my purpose. And then you talk about that voice in your head, the critical one, like, oh, you can't do that. You're too old, or you need to go to school, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, there are two voices. There's the voice you can make talk, which is, you're trying to figure out something and from your past and you can make it talk. If I told you right now, to say the word hello in your head, you can do that. You can hear it. That's the voice you're controlling. But then there's a voice that just talks. So it narrates your life. I call it the bitchy roommate. You have somebody trapped in your head with you and they're narrating your life almost entirely negatively. And what's happening is that voice is just programming. It's what you've built over time. It's the voice you're driving down the road, and all of a sudden the voice says, "Remember the birthday party when you were 7 and you peed your pants and embarrassed yourself?" And for no reason it comes up, right? And not only does the thoughts come up, all of the same feelings. You can literally be driving your car in your 40s and feel the same embarrassment. Your face gets all red because we take the emotion that we don't like, we attach it to the thought we don't like, and we store it away. And then anytime anything reminds us of it, it comes rushing back. And again, not just the thoughts, all of the feelings come back too. And that's how we live our life. Because once that happens, our consciousness gets pulled into the feeling, gets pulled into the thought.
So, how do we stop it?
Well, the first thing you have to do is what's going on in your mind. So I tell people, I made this simple. I talk about the ABCs of mind power. It's the three things you start doing. The A is awareness. So it's what is going on when you're under 8 for the first 8 years of your life. It's like your mind records everything you like, you don't like, you're afraid of, that you love. And so for 8 years, that's happening, literally everything. And then one day about 9, the tape's out, it stops. For the rest of your life, that is the tape that runs in your mind when you're on autopilot. The tape you made when you were a child, you weren't mature, you weren't logical. So now it's figuring out what is on that tape because it's running in your subconscious and we're on autopilot 90% of the day. Think about it, almost the entire day. That means you're in the past, worried about what you could have done. If I had done this wouldn't happen. Or you're in the future, worried about something that you think is going to happen. And you're only spending a very small amount of your time in this moment, which is really the only time. So what do? Here's what you do. Name the voice in your head. I teach everyone this. I've been teaching it for years. It's incredibly powerful because it sounds like one of those woo-hoo, like Saturday Night Live motivational speaker kind of sketches, where you're talking to yourself in a mirror or something. But it's powerful because if you name the voice, I named mine Carl a long time ago. When the voice starts, the crazy voice, you just look at it like, oh, there goes Carl again. You look at Carl or whatever the voice is named for you as a child. It's a petulant, bitchy little kid who's not getting their way. When you look at the voice like that, it's no longer the voice of God. It's not the booming voice of the future. It is programming. And so what happens is once you start to realize, okay, this voice is talking, again, you make a joke out of it. It loses its power. Like any big scary thing you drag into the light, it starts to lose its grip.
Well, if nothing else, it's like you're talking to somebody else instead of yourself.
Right. I mean, it isn't you. There's the consciousness, which is really you. That is the soul
What I
you.
mean is, it's like I'm talking to a friend or a colleague now, not literally. So I have more power over. You know what? I don't believe you, or you're wrong. Like I can question it.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be wrong most of the time. That's the problem.
The all
Almost,
time, right?
almost all the time. So the second part of that is you've named it, right? So what I tell people is get some post-it notes, maybe 15, 20 post-it notes. All you do is write the name of the voice. Okay. So in my case, Carl, you write it on the post-it notes, place them around the house, the car, the office, everywhere that you go. And for a week, you just get a pad, a pen, and keep it with you. And now you're going about your day. You see the post-it note. Now it's a trigger. What's on my mind? This second, what's on my mind? You write it down.
Let's do the example. I want to know my purpose, and it didn't have to be like Mother Teresa, but like you're doing what you want to do, the thing you want to do, your dream, and maybe the voice tells you again you're too old or something. What would be the question that someone should ask themselves if they're trying to answer that question and dig deep? What should they start with to ask themselves?
Well, you really have to like I said, once you're aware of what the voice is saying and you do that for a while, you're going to realize it's all BS. It's all old rusty programming. And that's when you can really start to get in there because right now you're being run by a program from the past. So until you get control of that, you're not going to find
Mm,
your purpose. You're not going to find your passion because you're being run by the lowest part of your being. Everything that pulls your consciousness away. Somebody does something, says something, upsets
hmm.
you, you get pulled away. You're thinking about, I mean, all we do is think about ourselves. We're on a planet in the middle of, outer
I see.
space.
So would you do this for like a month or something until you really get used to going, oh, I got my post-it note, I've named you, and I'm so used to doing that. Then you ask the question, what is my calling? What do I feel like doing with my life?
Even a week or two
Oh,
you do
okay.
it and you can totally be I want to find my purpose. You can have that thought going, so it's operating there as well, and that's going to be you're setting an intention for that, to find that, to feel that, but you have to get out from under this programming because again 90% of the day we have 50,000 thoughts a day. 90% of those are negative, so
Yeah.
imagine what you're going through each and every day. It's all just old crap.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like
These are
I
all thoughts that are stopping you. I'm not good enough. I can't do that. It's too late. Whatever. These are like getting bombarded with, just like what that's why people, I think, don't start. They can't get started.
Yeah, it's fear. I mean, fear and desire control everything because it's either I want to get what I want or I want to make sure I don't get what I don't want. That's everybody's life. You twist the universe and reality to try to make it happen. You twist people, you got to act like this. This has to be like that. It's so crazy what we go through.
So let me paint this picture. Let's say 2 weeks later, just when I'm getting used to doing the post-it and I've named my voice, and I think, okay, I'm going to do what Brent and Daniel, Brent suggested. What if then I get hit with, yeah, but I can't do that because I have this job and I have this family, or I don't have enough money saved, or this or that. Wouldn't it still hit you? Or you're saying no, you'd start to, because those are modern time voices. Those are not the kid voices.
Well, it is, but it's born from that. So it's still the same voice. You've been building an ego your whole life. When we're born, we are literally blank slates. I mean, think about it when you're a kid. You're happy and you laugh. Whenever you're sad, you cry. You're outside pretending to be this and that. Then you start to get programmed by your parents,
I
teachers,
see.
and that's what happens. And so you start building a false version of yourself. I like this. I don't like this. I'm afraid of this. And so you
It sounds like what's happening is, even though we said you only have a set of tapes that stops at 8. Those tapes are kind of like using Google or AI in modern times. Even though you're in the present, it's going back and it's making new things based on that old stuff.
Right. I tell people all the time, if you bought a computer that had nothing on the hard drive, right? All you're adding to your computer over your life is your path, your whatever happened to you. So whenever you are trying to find a solution and you're asking your mind, it can only come up with an answer that has something to do with your past. It has no other information. It can't go out there and find out, it's only giving you information from whatever you've programmed in it in the past. So it's all the things you hate, all the things you love, all the things that scare you. All like for instance, if you were 4 years old and you saw a rattlesnake that scared you, now that for most people, that snake is going to control their life because now you're afraid of snakes. You can't go to
You hit on a good point, Brent. PSD, post stress disorder. What the word
right
is?
traumatic.
That's one that seems real hard because yes, immediately before you can even go, the voice in my head, I've named it. Aren't you going to get triggered before you can even tell yourself it's the voice? How do you cope with that?
How do you cope with
Something that is so intensely traumatic, like a traumatic event that's running your thoughts, and it subconsciously that voice comes in so fast. Or are you saying after a week or two or longer after working with this, that'll start to neutralize, go away?
it definitely starts to neutralize. Now, a week or two is not going to do it. You've been doing it your entire life, but it's going to start to give you rocket fuel for your motivation because you're going to see changes. You're going to see, wow, this bothered me last week when she said this. And now she said something similar and it didn't affect
Oh,
me. It didn't trigger me the way.
I get it. Yeah, that's you're giving it new data points.
Right. And you're building from a place now. You're not bringing all this crap from the past. You are able to put breaks in the tape that
Hmm.
what you're doing. Now you're looking at because it's like I tell people, imagine you have a car that's the same age as you. Okay. You've had it your entire life, but you've never watched it. So now you're sitting in the driver's seat, you're driving somewhere, right? You're looking through the windshield, layer after layer after layer of gunk and the past. So if you're sitting in there, you're looking at reality through the lens of the past. It's the only information you have. So anytime you're looking at reality, you're never really seeing it. Because if the guy walking towards you looks like the uncle that used to abuse you when you were a kid, you're triggered where I could be fine. So you have to remember you're seeing reality through the lens of your past. We all do that.
So we need some new data points, and we get there by first naming our voice, put it on a post-it, and that allows us to get some new data where we can, when we do the algorithm, the AI search for however, new thoughts coming in, it'll give us some new beliefs, new beliefs.
Yeah, because you spent your entire life with this programming that's running in the background. You never know what it is. You don't. It's controlling your everything, your emotions. It's controlling the way that you think. It's controlling how you deal with other people. So now, bringing in new data, bringing in new experiences, you're starting to give more and more of a database to pull from than just things that were made when you were logical. Because now you're understanding, wow, I was a kid. I wasn't mature. Maybe I was in survival mode. Maybe I had a bad childhood, whatever it was. That is not going to run the rest of my life. And that's most people from birth to death, they never get out of this tunnel. They don't realize there's more.
And what are the other steps? Did you say A, B, C? Awareness. And then what's B?
So awareness is the A. B is belief, which the great thing about these, the belief starts to come automatically when you're aware of what the voice is saying. So because without self-belief, people that have tremendous self-belief and very little talent that are wildly successful. More successful most of the time than people that have wild talent and no self-belief, because self-belief is paramount. Nobody's going to believe in you until you believe in yourself first. It's an inner thing. Like all the things that really matter, happiness, love, inspiration, courage, those are inner things. They're not out in the outer world. You can't go out and buy love or confidence or courage, but we think that they are. Like that's what matters. So when you become aware, you start to cultivate, wow, my dreams aren't gone. I can still do this. You start to get belief, and it happens automatically when you do
Because
that.
you're not listening to the voice.
Right.
So your new experiences can be logged as data points that are not connected to the old beliefs. And so they form these new beliefs.
Right. And when you look at the voice, like I said, like a kid, like a petulant child, it has no power. The sting is much less than it used to be
So
because
let me ask you this. What if there's a conflict, like it's conspiracy theory as you're Googling in AI, like, do I really believe that? What if You're checking the voice. I get it. It's the voice. You're having this new experience, but the conflict comes in because down at the root hard drive on your computer is like a red alert. You are so terrified of that snake that no matter what, you're like, we're not listening to this. We're not listening. There's the snake. Don't listen. The belief that you could get bit is so hard. How do you work with that? Just by keeping it up, keep working on the voice.
Well, with the snake thing, it becomes not just you were 4 years old and afraid of a snake. Now you nobody can say the word snake. You don't want to watch a movie that has a snake in it. You can't go to the zoo, to the reptile house because there's snakes. You're not going to go somewhere where there's a desert. You're not going to do this. You're not going to do that. You can't walk down the road and see a coiled up rope because you might be afraid it's a snake, right? Now your whole life is being controlled by this issue about the snake, and that is one thing. We do it with everything. I like this. I don't like that. This scares me. This doesn't. Our entire life is built like that. That's what we do.
What I mean by Brent is if I see a coiled rope on the sidewalk, I can listen to the voice and go, it's the voice. Oh, that's just a coiled snake. New data point. But what if I actually see a snake? Will I, is it because I've been training myself to not even listen? Well, think what I'm saying is at some point there is a real snake and it's a rattler. I'm about to step on it and I should stop or move. How do I differentiate at that point? Listen to the voice because you should.
Well, I mean, if it's really fight or flight, if you're standing there and there's a rattlesnake, you should be afraid
Right.
because a rattlesnake, everything like Buddha said, everything has its nature, right? A rattlesnake has a rattlesnake nature. Its nature is to scare you because it's dangerous. But when that snake crawls away, it should not still be living in your head, but it is. That's the difference. If you walk up on a snake, then yeah, you definitely should be afraid. What am I going to do?
You know what? I think I've got an answer just came to my mind for myself when I'm climbing and I'm terrified and people go, well, how do you do it? I'm like, sometimes I go down. And key thing is I pause for a moment because the fear is telling me pause and think about it. Just process like what is it real? And then I make my decision. So the fear, come to think of it, is telling me pause and think. It's what happens afterwards that gets people stuck, right?
Yeah, and the fact that you're doing it is already puts you ahead of most everyone else because the fear normally stops everyone else from even attempting anything that's going to get close to their stuff, which is the stuff that triggers them. Because when you take a thought pattern and you take an emotion, for instance, the snake, and you put that away, it's like an episode of Hoarders. You've stored that in yourself. It's not like you would think logically if you didn't like something, if it scared you, you would get rid of it. That's not what
Hmm.
we do. You take that thought and that emotion and you put it away. And now, anytime anything comes up similar, it comes pouring back up. You had a breakup and your girlfriend drove a red pickup truck. Now, when you see a red pickup truck, what happens? All the feelings come back, the thoughts come back. And so that means it's something you need to let pass through. It's just energy, but you've decided to store it. So you don't like it. It's like when somebody says, don't go there with me. That means you're getting close to something that's going to trigger me. Or you can't talk about that with your father. Yeah, you're going to trigger something in dad if you keep going. That is what we've all done, but we've done it with everything. So that takes willpower. Every time you hold something in, you're holding it in with willpower or life force energy or whatever you believe in. It's costing you something to hold that. And so it's trying to come up like energy. It's like a dam and a river. The river's always trying to get through the dam. It's never going to stop. You've put the dam there. So it's like it comes up, you get triggered by it, and instead of saying, okay, I'm going to relax and kind of let this, no, we go, we get upset, and we push it back down, and we spend our entire life doing that. So just the fact that you've done the thing, you're doing the thing that you're afraid of, you've already accomplished way more. Most people don't even try. They're not even going to try because the fear is controlling them.
What's going through my head is you're getting all these thoughts. How to and let's say I know I'm speaking to the voice is speaking to me. It's telling me, what to do, what not to do. And some of them are valid. I mean, most of them are invalid, but some of them are valid. It's how to tell the valid ones from, do you use your intuition? How do you tell the valid ones from, like we're speaking of, there's a real snake. How do you tell the real one from the BS from the past?
Well, the snake being real and in reality is the big difference. I mean, unless you are, unless you have some kind of mental illness, you're not going to you're not going to imagine it's a real snake. I mean, the moment you see the coiled up rope or the coiled up hose or something, yeah, for a second you were afraid it scared you, but now you know it's a rope. Hopefully, most people realize okay. So it's being able you've got to accept reality. I mean, that's like the first thing,
Well,
right?
okay, I have an example. Let's say like bullying at school. Let's say one time you were bullied and now you're afraid to be social, afraid to go sit with other kids at the lunch table because that's where you were bullied. Now you go into the lunchroom and you see people that look threatening. And so the voice in your head is now telling you that guy looks like he was, bad guy, a bad kid, whatever. I don't even want to be in this lunchroom. How, take it from there, Ralph, in terms of your process for how you would deal with this in your mind.
Well, you have to remember you only have the input in your computer that you've put in there. So you've got like 0.11% of everything. And remember, you only have what has happened to you. So you're looking at some people that you think look whatever, like bullies or whatever, because of what happened to you in your past, which it's not the same thing. You just have to look at it logically. Those aren't the people that bullied you. You know what I mean? We do it all the time. It's like you see somebody that was drunk, for instance. Just the first time you meet them, they were drunk. So now you've labeled that person in your mind. Every time you see them in your mind, it's going to be, oh, there's the drunk. Now, what if their dad died? They never drank, and so that one
Yeah.
night you saw them, they decided to drink. You're working from a very flawed algorithm here because it's
Hmm.
only things from your past, which is a very like a nothing percentage of what's actually happening in the universe because it's only what happened to you.
So you know what? I just had this. I'm putting myself in the picture I just described. Here's another thing that I thought of that hurts people. They want to make that belief so strong and validate the voice. They do something to engage somebody to make them bully them, just to validate their belief, right? That happens.
Yeah, and they believe either that they deserve to be bullied for some reason or they're always being picked on. And yes, they start to validate what the voice is saying, which is the worst thing you can do
Hmm.
because I'm telling you, nothing that lower voice says, nothing is helpful. Nothing. Because there's two things going on. Like I said, if it's intuition, if it's your consciousness, that's different. But that lower voice that's just narrating your life, there's this, there's that, we can't do this, we're too fat, we're too ugly, that voice is never going to give you good information because it's only pulling from the past. So it's differentiating between intuition, between you're the consciousness, so you are the awareness, but your awareness keeps getting pulled into all different directions by what's happening. So it's figuring out, okay, what is running me.
The key thing I got from you just now is none of it. I like absolutes aren't always the best because there's very few things absolute. Maybe it's helpful to just think it's all that way. I don't have to judge it. It's all bad. But here's a question. Being an engineer, sometimes I get these thoughts that how can I fix them? How can I invent something? I don't want to get rid of those thoughts. Those are the same voice, right? Same voice? They're not the same voice.
No, because that's useful information that you're planning, for the present into the future. This is all information rooted in the past. Even if it looks like you're thinking about the future, you're still dredging up
So how
and
can I
stuck in
tell
the
the
past.
voice it's a different voice, not the same voice?
There is intuition and there's the consciousness, which is you, the real you. I mean, the body, the meat suit, people think we're bodies with souls, and we're really souls that are in bodies. It's the other way around. I think it's completely backwards. We're down here living this life, learning whatever it is. Like Earth is a classroom, and you're here to learn. You're not here to make $1 billion. You're not here to hurt other people. You're not here to be the best
A soul.
actor.
You have a soul.
Right. You're a soul. So the consciousness is you. That is it's like, how would you even know what the voice is saying in your mind if it was you? You wouldn't. You would just be living it. But because there's a consciousness, you're able to, that's why the post-it note, you're able to see hear the last thing that's on your mind. Because now all of a sudden you're being pulled into the present moment instead of being stuck in the past or the future. And you're, okay, what's on my mind? You're writing it down. And again, it's a bunch of BS. It's not logical
Say
anymore.
I'm in the same cafeteria situation. I see that people that look like bullies. Nope. Ralph said, so that's all false. Maybe I'll make new friends. Then I also see that they have rectangular tables, and I get this idea. Wouldn't it be better if we had round tables? Because we could all sit around and just be. I got that thought. How do I accept that thought? Because that's an innovative idea. Maybe let's have round tables instead of long rectangle tables that keep people spread out and apart and not social. How do I allow that to come in and think about it more and how I might get the school to consider it? Well, at the same time, I'm shutting the voice down not to be distracted and think people are bullying me.
Look at the two things. One of them is just not true and a bunch of crap from the past, and one of them is an idea that could be a great idea. You can definitely see the difference. Again, we're not used to looking. We're just used to being controlled
Point. I see a point.
subconsciously.
One is actually technically real, literally real.
Right. And the more you do that, the less the other thing is going to pop up. And it's talking, it's there to almost protect us. It's like the world is scary. And when you're thrown into this as a kid, there's just so much going on. It's like, that's a tree. That this voice is like, grounding you. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's great when you're a child, but then you start to get programmed by the people around you. So now as an adult, when you get two ideas like that, well, you can definitely see one is in reality and that you could build something from that and maybe make some changes and people's lives could be better and your life could be better. And the other one is these people look like people that bullied me when I was a kid. I mean, it has no logical basis. You can definitely see the difference.
Oh, but
right?
are they, my question for you is, are they the same voice or do we need a second post-it? Is there a third voice? They're the same voice.
No, the voice you're talking about is the consciousness breaking through there and coming up with an idea. I mean, that's where creativity comes from.
Mm-hmm.
That's where, I mean, you'll see songwriters, Lionel Richie is one, Kenny Rogers was one. I don't even know where this comes from. I sit down and I write this. I mean, it's like it's already in me and it's just I'm channeling it out. There is that, which is exactly what you're talking about. You're seeing something, okay, this could be different. That's problem solving. That is making things better. One of them is completely not logical and it's rooted in the past. You can definitely see the difference between those two things.
So you can see I'm very analytical. Some people I drive them nuts because my question still is then how do I, if I've labeled it on a post-it and I've gotten used to, I'm going to go easy to start with and just deal with the nonsense. I've got a post-it. I've named that voice. Is there another voice now I need to name for my intuition, my consciousness that's channeling stuff? Is it going to sound different in my head, be a different voice?
You're making the voice sound like you. I mean, that's you doing that. We do that to ourselves, but that is the consciousness. I mean, there is no other voice. The real voice is you. You've built a fake version of you that's all the likes, the dislikes, what who insulted you and who makes you nervous and who abused you and who did this. There's two different things going on.
Oh, you're right. When I channel ideas, I don't hear that. I just know it. I just suddenly know it.
Most people do. They know, like when you tell somebody something that usually really deep and spiritual, a lot of people will say to me, you know what? I feel like I've known that inside my whole life. I just
don't
didn't
think it.
Right.
Beautiful. That's very simple. And it explains how this could work because you don't hear that. You just know it. The idea that you thought of that's going to cure cancer, you may have been thinking about it logically, though, too. That's different. You didn't hear that. You were thinking, you didn't hear that. It wasn't that voice. You just knew it all of a sudden. Yeah.
Yeah, it takes time. Like I said, repetition is a superpower. It got us into whatever mess we're in. It'll get you out, but it's not a magic pill. I don't teach, buy a $1,000 course, go to India, meditate for a year. There isn't some thing like that. It's just doing the right thing in the right way, a little tiny bit, and you're moving in the right direction. You don't have to do some grand gesture here. You just have to start. Another thing to do is you start letting go of little things. In other words, like Michael Singer, who, the Untethered Soul, he wrote a fantastic book, but
Hmm.
he has a great idea, which is like you're driving in traffic and the person in front of you is driving slow. That is a very easy thing to let go of, because what most people do, the guy in front of you is driving slow. You've got to get somewhere. You're in the car back behind him going, my God, what is going on? Why are you're having a whole thing? This guy's driving completely oblivious, right? That's a thing you can let go of. The big things, don't even worry about that. Start focusing on what are the little things that bother me. And I just did a cruise. I did 2 weeks in the Caribbean on Mexico. And there was one day where we were outside for a drill and it was 100 degrees and it was hot. And so I'm sweating. I'm a big guy. I'm sweating. Everyone's pushed in there together and it's going on and on. And the voice starts to go, oh my God, why are we out here? It is so hot. You're too big for this. And it's going, right? So the consciousness goes, I started thinking, why am I hot? Logically. Now, this will be great for you since the way you think, right? Analytically, why am I hot? And I go, you know what? 93 million miles away, there is a star. That star is so hot. It is so hot, 93 million miles away. I can feel the heat from it. That's how incredible this is. And your mind starts to go on that. My God, this is amazing. I mean, think about it. It's a star. It's not even I'm getting star burned right now. Like it tricks that lower mind into, oh God, I'm so hot. Why are you hot? Because you're close to us. 93 million miles. That isn't close, but it's so hot you can feel the heat from it. And the mind goes away from that poor me. Those are little things. The weather, it's raining on your day off. You're going on a picnic and now you're saying, oh, God hates me. The universe hates me. Why is it raining? It always rains on my day off. I never have any luck, right? Hey, the crops need rain. Little things you can let go of. You just kind of look.
I even twist that a little different. Maybe I'm meant to go climbing another day because it's raining.
Yeah.
I know I am, and this is, of course, based on experience because then when the day comes, I can. I'm like, oh, I'm glad I didn't go on that day. The person driving in front of me in traffic's great. Mind you, I still have trouble with this every time it happens. Someone's going like 20 and a 50. And then I pass them and I go, oh, they're old. And literally I can tell how old they are and their glasses are huge and they're gripped to the steering wheel. I feel bad for them. And I don't know it until I get up there. It's still hard to let it go. But I think it's because we think we know what's happening. We don't. We don't know what's happening. And we get pulled into that old pattern. When there was someone going really slow, and I don't know what the excuse is. There is none.
Right. It comes from somewhere. It happened one time years ago, and
Yeah.
every time it happens now, you're linking it. It's like you're a little kid, you wreck your bike and you get a skinned arm. Now, bicycle makes you nervous, and you see because it's giving you, oh, remember the time you crashed on your bike and you got that bloody arm? So now it's affecting everything that you do, riding a bike, looking at bikes. We do it with everything. So what you said about an old person is exactly what I tell people. It's like, just imagine that's a grandmother in front of you. Just remember her last year driving. She's very careful. She's very particular. So you don't have to get up next to it to prove that that's who it is. Just imagine, just be happy that that's who it is. You know what I mean? Start going, okay, this is a little thing. It's not going to affect me. Maybe this person's saving my life. Maybe
They're saving me from a speeding ticket.
right. Or saving me from an accident or
Yeah.
anything. You don't have to just bring some logic to it. Like I said, and make it so it's not the voice controlling you. Because what happens is the voice starts, the emotion starts, we're sucked into it. And sometimes it could be a day, and you're going to go home and say, oh my God, this guy was driving. Like literally, you're going to propagate
Oh yeah,
that.
it'll drive your stress up, make
Right.
you unhealthy, make you crazy and mad, and yeah.
And the secret is when you let those little things go, time after time after time, I swear to you, what happens is the big things will start coming up again because they've been pushed down so long underneath all this stuff. It's like there's a tremendous amount of energy in all of us, but we've got it blocked and clogged. And if you've taken everything that ever disturbed you and kept it inside, and then people wonder why they're disturbed, you know why? Because everything that ever bothered you, you've put in your body, you've put in yourself.
What's part C? We got awareness, belief, and what was C?
C is connection. And first, I tell people, look, we're all connected. And I learned that when I did a meditation retreat, and the guy, got in my mind. And, we're all connected to universal consciousness, but none of us ever realize it because there's so much crap in our own lives. But that's not the connection I'm talking about. It's the connection you have with yourself. Because until you can sit alone with yourself, you're never going to make the connect. You're not going to know what's going on because there's really real knowledge and real power, but it's inside. And we're all looking out there. Oh, when I meet the right guy, when I meet the right girl, I'll be happy. When I get a smaller butt, I'll be happy. When I get the sports car, the job, the house, the this. And happiness then becomes something that's constantly ahead of you. It's
Well,
never
it's
where
like
you are.
climbing the mountain. Uh, when you climb a mountain, like, cause you get to the top of the mountain, it's the journey. As soon as you're on top, it doesn't make you happy.
Right. Because what do you want then?
What do you want next? Yeah, like
The next mountain.
exactly. It is Edmund Hillary, the first guy to climb Mount Everest. Reporters asked him, when you're on top of Mount Everest, what were you thinking? Wasn't it like you're on top of the mountain? He's like, I was looking over at another mountain that hadn't been climbed, thinking about climbing it. Weren't you
That's what
happy
it
to be
is.
on top? He's like, I enjoyed climbing the mountain. It was challenging, and now I'm gonna go climb that mountain. That's what I want to do. It's not like what else would I do? Just sleep up here and like sit up here until I like what? Like that's the end?
What everybody does. They think happiness is okay. So, and I always tell people, look, think of some time that you wanted something so bad that's all you wanted, right? When you got it, how long did you stay happy before you wanted the next thing? I can tell you, 5 minutes, 5 days, it's somewhere in there because it never works. We've done it our entire life. When will we realize that does not work? Because as soon as you get that thing, you
Yeah,
want the next thing.
the sports people talk about it. There was a tennis player that talked about it, and the NFL people, you win the Super Bowl. What's next? Win another Super Bowl? They say it like last 10 minutes, if you're lucky, 9 minutes, and then gone.
It just doesn't work. And we all spend our entire lives doing it and never realizing it doesn't work. We go from one thing to the next. And so when you start uh connecting to yourself, which I tell people start 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes afternoon. If you do it too late, you're not going to get any sleep. You're going to create energy because that's what happens. You're sitting there, feet flat on the floor, hands on your knees, close your eyes. And all I tell people, you count 1 to 20 over and over again. The genius of it is if you get to 47, you've gone too far, you immediately go back to one. It's like what you were saying earlier. You don't question what number was I on? What do I have to go back to? Why am I thinking that? There's no judgment. There's nothing. Immediately, soon as you realize you're thinking something else, you're counting too high, you go back to one. Because what's going to happen is you sit down, do that, and I'll tell you, silently you're doing it, but it'll be like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, my arm hurts. Why am I sitting here? What am I having for lunch? That's what's going to happen. All of a sudden the mind starts. Then, as soon as you realize it, you go 1, 2. That's all. That sounds like nothing, but what you're doing there is what I mentioned earlier. It's you are creating unbelievable focus. You're pulling back your focus, pulling back your focus.
It sounds like a cool game to me. I'm going to try to get to 100 or 1,000 or a million. And so much I want to win this game now the way I look at it, Brent, a game, it'll be easier to not let the thoughts, just to let the thoughts go. Cause I'll be like, nope, I'm going to make it. I'm going to be make the record on this game in terms of points.
Yeah. And, but also remember, for a lot of people, what also is happening is you're pulling back your focus, but you're also hearing what that voice is. It's doing the same thing that the Post-it note's doing. Because when you see the Post-it note, you're triggered. Okay, you're going to get the last tail end of whatever the voice is saying. When you're meditating, you're going to hear the voice talking in your head. You're going to have a front row seat for whatever that voice is saying. So don't worry about quieting it. The voice will stop eventually. Mine talks very rarely now. That happens as a byproduct. I don't even tell people that normally because it's not something you should be going for. What you're going for is I'm going to sit quietly. I'm going to count. You're going to be forced to hear what the voice is saying. You're not going to stop it. It's not like push the thoughts away. It's let them happen. But then as soon as you realize they're happening, you go back to one. Focus every time. It's creating focus. And now what happens is in your life, in your everyday life, what you're doing in meditation, you're building this inner world, you're creating this magic inside, comes out in your regular life. You will see somebody comes up to you that normally makes you mad. They normally are drama, like energy vampires that suck you dry of your energy, right? They say something that normally triggers you, and all of a sudden it's like we're in slow motion, we're in the zone. And now I have a much more powerful position. Instead of being sucked into their drama, now I just go, you ask one question. That's all you got to do. And it's, is this worth my peace? That's all you need. That enough time to ask yourself, is this situation worth my peace? And guess what? 99.999% of the time, it's not. Now, normally they do it. You get sucked in, you're fighting, you're yelling, you're bitching. An hour later, a week later, you go, oh my God, I've been completely out of it for, but see, that doesn't happen.
So this is all based on the exercise that we're going to, it's kind of like meditation. We have our eyes closed. We're sitting and we're going to count to 21.
Count to 20 over
20.
and over. That's it. I mean, it sounds so simple, but it's
So what
much
if I
deeper.
get to, if in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I get a thought, my butt hurts the way I'm sitting,
One,
and then I start over.
immediately go back to one. You don't worry about what it's saying, why it's saying it, what number you were on. Go immediately to one.
And then when
And
I
you,
get to 20, then I'm done, or I set the timer for 15 minutes. What's the process?
I tell people do 5 minutes to start. So yeah, set the timer on your phone for 5 minutes. And I don't care how many times you have to pull back your focus. And for most people, it's going to be 100, 200 times in the first week or two. But every time you do it, you strengthen your, it's not a muscle, but it's, focus muscle, I always say, because you're creating this ability to focus. So every time you do that, you get to 40, you go back to one. And you just keep doing it over and over and over again until the alarm goes off.
Okay.
Okay. So 1 to 20, 1 to 20, 1 to 20. Then those three things, now you've become aware of what the voice is saying. You know how much of it is crap. You're realizing, wow, it doesn't have quite the grip I thought it did.
Because you're doing that all the time. That's this method is you're doing that all the time. You got the little post-it. It's a voice in my head. You're not real. You're doing that 24/7.
Well, yeah, but a week is all you need to really to because you just want the moment where that's why when you write it down, don't like try to go into it that at that point. What you're going to do is write it down, and after a week, go back and look at the pad,
I mean,
and
I'm
you'll
summarizing, Brent, the whole the program, bite-sized program for people. You're doing the post-it, and you're doing that for a week, and then is it once a day you do the 5-minute timer?
you want to do first thing in the morning. And you want to do around lunchtime because that'll give you energy for the afternoon, especially if
Okay.
you work. Okay, that's it. So that's something you do every day. But the post-it notes and the voice, you're gonna keep that name. When it gets crazy, you go, oh, there goes Carl. But the actual post-it notes you do for a week, that starts to create the belief. You start to meditate. Those three things will work together. If you don't do anything else, the meditation will get you almost there because you've figured out what the voice is saying. You know how much of it isn't logical. It starts to create the belief that you can, because a lot of people don't believe they can have what they want. It's like why people say, I know why I'm not getting what I prayed for. I'm not getting because I don't believe I deserve it. I don't believe that I can have it. That's what most people, that's their base.
That's perfect. So let's bring it back to then how it's going to be all useful. If let's say this application that I'm asking about is to get people unstuck and move them towards positive change. What should they really be doing with their life? What's their passion? What are they here for? Some people call it purpose, and they're stuck. They don't admit to themselves what it is. Having done all these exercises, then will they just become more aware of that by like
Yes.
intuition,
Yes, but the
maybe?
also once you have done this and you've cultivated this because really what it is if you sit down every day for 5 minutes and if you can get to 15 after 6 months, you add a minute every couple of weeks, whatever it is, you get to 15, that's all you need for the rest of your life, 15 twice a day. I do 45 in the morning, 45 in the evening because it's transform. I don't tell people they have to do that. But I only do it because it's life changing. I tour the world. My schedule is so busy if it didn't work, there's no way I would spend 90 minutes a day doing something that didn't do anything for me. But I mean, I quit smoking, drinking. I mean, everything I've ever done in my life is a mind. Even now, I've been losing weight. I became a vegetarian. I mean, I'm from Ohio. I mean, it's all about steaks and hamburgers and
Yeah.
all that crap. So the fact that I can even do any of that, that it happens.
Pick one of those and walk me through the timeline of you of getting rid of that or transforming yourself.
Well, what happened was my whole life I thought money was the answer. I get a lot of money, I'm going to be happy. I
Hmm.
grew up in the 80s. 80s were money, money, money. All the TV shows were about rich people, So I thought, wow, this is the way to be. When I went out on my own and I started working and I started making money and I had the things, the house and the car, just like you said about the mountain, I was happy for, a few days. And then it all started going haywire because I thought my whole life when I made this, I've made it. Now I'm going to be finally be happy. And I wasn't happy. Now I just had a payment and I had, it wasn't what I thought. So I started drinking. Okay. I had never had a drink until I was 21 or 22. I didn't drink underage or anything. Then I got cancer. And so we can take the smoking. I got through cancer and I started smoking after cancer. Who does that, right? I mean, what a genius I was. I'm up to two packs a day and a bottle of.
People, I think a lot of people
Okay,
actually, yeah. No,
stress.
because they're all like, yeah, they fall. It's, yep, yep.
It's a crutch. I mean, it all is. Everything we use is a crutch. But I'm drinking a bottle of vodka a day. I'm out working cruise ships, Vegas, all this stuff. And I finally had a moment of clarity when I thought, everything I've ever done, the cancer, the money, I've come up against them, realized they're mindset issues. It's not the moment in front of us that's bothering us. It's the way we're looking at it. It's the way we think it's happening. So I just decided I'm going to quit cold turkey. So I quit the cigarettes and the alcohol at the same time. And it's been 10 years. Matter of fact, the cruise ship that I went on last week, I went back in. I had packed crowds in the theater. I did my seminar, it was packed. The seminar room was the last room I worked in on that ship 10 years ago when I was drinking. It was the last time I had a drink was on that ship. So it was a full circle moment. I mean, I was standing on the stage I was on when I was going through all that, smoking, drinking. So you just start to look at logically.
How did you? So I was with you when it's a predictable path. A lot of billionaires, millionaires, then they drink, and cancer, smoking. At that point, did you start to use the post-it, the thing in your head, and realize like you kind of skipped over the part? How'd you actually do it to kick? Because I presuppose is if you got stuck on drinking, you didn't have the skills before that to the mindset, the post-it, the name in the head to know better, right?
Yeah, and drinking is a hard one because drinking completely changes your inner state. I mean, when you're inebriated, the alcohol is controlling you. Then the lower voice is controlling you. And one more thing, the other thing about counting from 1 to 20 is you're giving that voice, the lower voice, an easy job. That's the voice that's counting. 1, 2, 3. And at a certain point, you can transcend it like they do in transcendental meditation, because now that lower voice isn't going to be saying, oh, blah, 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 blah. It's going to be counting and you're going to keep forcing it back. That's how you go above it. But anyway, as far as the alcohol, when you're swimming in alcohol, your brain's in alcohol, you always go to the lowest thing. It's always woe me. It's always, moments of clarity when you start to look, okay, I need to work on smoking. I need to work on drinking. What am I even doing? So yes, I had played around with the naming the voice and I had learned different things from my travels. I'm the one that kind of put this together in a way that worked for me. And then when I started teaching it, I realized, wow, it's really simple. It seems to work for people. So yeah, the first thing is, what is going on? Why do I drink? Why? And I realized I'm drinking because I'm trying to mask the fact that my whole life I thought money was the only thing. Now I got the money and I'm more miserable than I've ever been before. So the alcohol is there to cover that. It's what most people do. You're drinking because you don't want the feeling that's there. So you're covering it. That moment of clarity was, you're never going to get out of this if you keep drinking to the extent. And I didn't taper off and I didn't go to a rehab center. I had that moment where I went, I'm going to do this. I started, okay, what's going on? Oh, I realized I'm drinking because I thought money was everything. Oh, that's when I realized it. So I just stopped. I just stopped cold turkey. I did the same thing at almost the same time with the cigarettes. And I thought, if I'm going to do this, I'm just going to do it. It has a grip on us, obviously, because when people feel the pull of, when you're doing something, and what's the word I'm looking for? When you have like an addiction, there's when you get off of it, then it's trying to pull you back in because you're feeling, like the pull to alcohol or the pull to a cigarette is like,
food is a big
or
one.
food, yeah. I mean, it pulls you. So you have to be able to withstand some people they can. I mean, like with heroin or something. I mean, it pulls you right in because the not doing that is more painful to your body, to your mind. So you've got to pick one thing, like I said, and you focus on that, you work with that, you start to figure out what the voice is saying. Maybe why am I drinking? Again, it wasn't for a logical reason. It was I'm drinking because I have
Because
money
you're
and
not
I've
happy. You're not
right.
happy.
That is what it is exactly. That is why. And that's what most people it is. Like when I ask people, what do you want? And they'll say, I want $1 billion. Okay. I'm going to give you $1 billion today and I'm going to give it to you in cash. And I'm going to put you and that $1 billion on an island in the middle of the South Pacific for the rest of your life. Do you want it? Do you still want the billion? No.
And
Do
it's
you
going to be a
want
dry desert with no water, this island, like seawater to drink, and no people and no shelter when it rains. But you got your $1 billion in a bag on the beach.
right? Like, oh, I want this woman to marry. Okay, you're gonna get her. She's gonna be the most beautiful woman, blah blah blah. But she's never gonna love you. You're gonna be tortured your whole life. Do you still want the woman? No, because it's not the thing that we want. It's the thing we think that thing's gonna give us. In other words, the money's gonna give me freedom, give me ability to take care of my family. It's going to
Yeah.
make me happy. It's going to make other people look at me. It's going to whatever. But it roots down to I want to be happy.
What is the ultimate thing that will make people happy?
Getting rid of all the crap that's telling you why you're not happy and what you need to be happy, because again, it doesn't work. You get that thing and then you're off to the next thing. So instead of that, putting happiness contingent on a person, a place, or a thing, because then happiness is now okay. You put it in a woman and she leaves you, you're destroyed, because happiness is you've put it into somebody else. It's happiness is an inner thing. Happiness is not something you find in the outer world. You can't buy it. You can't rent it. You can't get it in anyone else. Happiness has to be given. So if you grant it to yourself and then somebody leaves you or something else happens, because bad things still happen. This doesn't make the world turn into, rainbows and lollipops all of a sudden, but it gives you the ability to deal with that without being pulled into some, depression that goes on and on and on. It's happiness. To get it, you've got to grant it. It's the same thing with courage, confidence.
What do you think of my idea, Brent, that, and I'm not saying you can't just be happy inside, period. But clearly, whatever you believe, religion or not, I think you have to believe in something spiritually. Like you're more than just a body to build Legos and go to the factory and work. That is depressing. If you are here in you have any kind of religion or spirit, you're here to do something. What do you think of my idea that people aren't happy because they're not doing the thing that they want to do or should be doing or could be doing?
That's a huge part of it. I mean, everybody has something. If you're not doing it, you don't know what it, if you don't know what it is, you're not doing it. You got to figure it out. I mean, at least before you die, you got to have at least a day where you know what you were put here to do. So that's powerful.
And if they follow your process here, it seems like that should enable them to get clear on what it is they want to do or just not be afraid to do it.
Yeah, because what you're going to do is when you start meditating every day, now you can set your intention for the meditation. You can think about, okay, what do I want to know? Because the answers are within. If you can connect to universal consciousness, you're going to get the answers to everything you ever wanted to know. But you're going to get the answers from yourself. What is my passion? What is my purpose? You can sit with that question and meditate. And again, you've given that lower mind that's normally running your life a very easy job. It's counting now. Your mind's going to transcend. You're going to all of a sudden have creativity. You're going to feel things. You cry, things release from you. I don't know why it works. I don't know why it happens. It's something beyond us.
The ironic thing about this is if your original thing was, I want money, then I'll be happy. If you follow this process, if you figure out what you're really here to do or want to do,
You get the money. You get the
get
money.
the money. Yeah. And then it's like, who cares? But I have money now. It's good. It's all right. Yeah.
Yeah, because we all hold too tight. We have a tight grip on everything. We want it the way we want it, and not the way we don't want it. And so that's everything we're trying to twist into that. If you start to release a little bit, it becomes, I don't have to twist her into being what I want. She can be who she wants. And then
You might attract the perfect person for you too, partner.
exactly,
It's magic.
you can't have a wish list that's like, I want Mary Williams on 1500 Main Street. You can't be so specific that you block yourself. I want to have the love of my life. I want to have the love of my life who's 5'6", weighs 110 pounds and has blonde hair. You know what I mean? That's what most people do. They decide exactly, I want the house over here on Main Street. No, I want this type of thing. I want to feel this. And then you let it go. It's
Hmm.
like anything, you order from Amazon. You don't get on the phone every day and go, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? You let it unfold naturally. That's the block. Most of the times it's like, what do I have to do to twist this around to make it happen? You don't have to do anything. You don't have to if you're looking just for money, not only you're never going to get it, but if you do get it, you're going to be miserable. If you do the thing you love that you're passionate about, the money will come in 10 times more. If you're actually focused on the passion and the purpose and helping other people and being grateful for what you have, it sounds such trite advice, but when you're grateful, you get more things to be grateful for. Gratitude is another amazing thing because most of the time you're feeling negative emotions and you're feeling envy and you're feeling disgust and you're feeling hate for another person. You're not feeling any of the good stuff. So when you start, oh,
I think it's because there's so many self-help books that don't give you a real tool like you're trying to do, give people tools so they're still stuck. So if they follow these tools, the 5 minute and then the notepad, name the voice, get rid of the voice. Those are pretty easy things.
over the years, I have not dumbed it down at all. I've simplified it to the point where everybody that does it, if you do it, I can promise you, if you do this, it will work, but you have to do it. You can't hear Daniel and I talk about it. You can't just read about it. You can't do anything that doesn't have you actually doing it because it's one of those things to awaken this. You have got to do it. And so talking about meditation won't do anything. You've got to actually sit there. And it's not easy at the beginning, but if you do it, it'll change your life, guaranteed.
So Brent's website is Brent Webb, BrentWebb.com. And his other links and his courses will be in the show notes. You want to mention you have online courses. What exactly do you do?
There's all kinds of courses and things, but you don't have to buy anything. I don't, my priority is not selling product. I mean, I have things for people who want to go deeper, who've seen me and they want to work with me. But I just want you to know wherever you're watching this from, no matter what you look like, what color you are, what sex you are, what your sexuality is, whatever you do, you can have what it is that you want. You can live the life that you want. It's not for other people. It's for you. And it's already inside you. Don't let anybody, because that's what you're saying. It's so true. They're selling you a book, but then it never ends because then they want you in the next book or the next course and it goes on forever. You've got it inside you. All you've got to do is activate it. It's free things. Name the voice in your head. Okay, that's free, right? Get some Post-it notes. What's that cost? A few cents. Start believing in yourself. That's free, but it'll change your life. And meditate, also free. Nowhere to go, nothing to do. But you can do this. Start a little bit each and every day, and you will see transformation that will blow you away. We're not just here to work a 9 to 5 and to slave and to be unhappy. We're here to unlock the magic, but you've got the key in your pocket. It's been there all along. You've just never used it. So this is how to do it. So forget about buying anything from me. Just work on yourself. That's all you need to do.
You can tell when someone's being real authentic when, unless it's a mind game to make you buy your stuff, because don't buy my stuff. But anywho, anything else you want to add that I didn't ask you that you think would be helpful?
I
think
really
we
don't.
covered it.
I do too. I think we got it all. And guys, just remember that there are people out there that care about you, that it isn't all about money. And, I think you found one here with Daniel. You just have to, you have to put your trust in the right people. And I think, you can't go wrong.
Thanks so much for being on my show, Brent.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Good luck with everything.